नमस्कार। नेशनल एसोसिएशन ऑफ फार्मा प्रोड्यूसर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन की ओर से मैं अनीश आप सभी साथियों का आज की परिचर्चा आत्मनिर्भर भारत पैकेज व्हाट इज इन इट फॉर एफपीओज संभावनाएं एवं चुनौतियों पर स्वागत करता हूं। नेफ्पो एफपीओ इकोसिस्टम के यूनिकनेस को परिलक्षित करता है। नेफ्पो में सभी स्टेक होल्डर्स, एफपीओज, स्टेट फेडरेशंस, हमारे बिजनेस पार्टनर्स, प्रमोटर्स, आरआईज सब एक साथ एफपीओ समुदाय की आवाज हैं। आत्मनिर्भरता पैकेज में लिक्विडिटी, फिस्कल सपोर्ट, फ्यूचर इन्वेस्टमेंट्स, एक्सपेंशन ऑफ ऑनगोइंग प्रोग्राम्स और रिफॉर्म्स का सभी का सम्मिश्रण है और इसलिए कई साथियों ने एफपीओ ने ये रिक्वेस्ट की थी कि हम लोग इसको समझने के लिए एक वेबिनार करें। माननीय वित्त मंत्री ने इस पैकेज को किसानों के फ्रीडम, फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी, फाइनेंशियल स्ट्रेंथ की बात कही है। रिफॉर्म्स का हिस्सा ईसीए, एपीएमसी के दूरगामी परिणामों पर एक्सपर्ट्स ने बहुत सारा विश्लेषण और विवेचना भी किया है। हमने पिछले कुछ दिनों में इसे 1991 का मूवमेंट, 1991 मूवमेंट, किसी ने 700 साल से आ रही व्यवस्था को हटाने की बात कही है, तो किसी ने 1887 का एक्ट में बदलाव करने की बात कही है। मंत्री जी ने पैकेज के दौरान एफपीओ पर लगभग 5 बार एफपीओ का संदर्भ लिया। उसके बाद इंटरव्यू में उन्होंने कहीं ज्यादा बार एफपीओ का चर्चा किया है। आज हम इन्हीं अपेक्षाओं पर चर्चा करेंगे। आत्मनिर्भर भारत पैकेज का एक कंटेक्स्ट कोविड भी है और हम जान रहे हैं किस तरह से डिमांड कोलैप्स किया है। कल आरबीआई ने बोल रहे हैं नेगेटिव ग्रोथ की बात कही है। सीएमआई का नंबर 6% ग्रोथ डिक्लाइन करने के बाद का है। एग्रीकल्चर का एक बड़ा हिस्सा B2B, प्रोसेसिंग, होरेका, इन सब सेगमेंट के साथ जुड़ा हुआ है। इन संदर्भ में भी हम लोग आत्मनिर्भर भारत पैकेज की चर्चा करेंगे। आज का चर्चा 3 भागों में हम करेंगे। पहले भाग में हमारे जो एक्सपर्ट्स हैं, सिराज हुसैन साहब और प्रवेश शर्मा जी का विश्लेषण हम एफपीओ के संदर्भ में सुनेंगे। दूसरे भाग में जो हमारे स्टेक होल्डर के साथीगण हैं, उनका इस भारत आत्मनिर्भर पैकेज पर क्या उनका टेक है, उस पर चर्चा करेंगे। और तीसरे भाग में हम लोग पार्टिसिपेंट्स के प्रश्न और टेक अवेज खोलेंगे। तो सभी साथी जो इस पर जुड़े हैं, आज की चर्चा पर जुड़े हैं, उनसे दरखास्त है कि वो क्वेश्चन आंसर वाले ऑप्शन को यूज करते हुए अपने क्वेश्चंस रखें। लेकिन बिफोर वी स्टार्ट, we have a small poll for you. This is going to be flashed on your screen right now, and we will request you to fill it, and we will take this towards the end of the deliberations today. We have today India's 2 foremost experts on agriculture. Both have been instrumental in major policy initiatives, especially in context of FPOs. Siraj Hussain Saab is Senior Fellow at ICRAER, former Secretary Agriculture, Government of India. Parvesh Sharma ji is UBS many hats, and actually all those hats span the entire spectrum of FPOs. He is the founder CEO of Kamatan, a new age farm to market company. Many of us know him as the managing director, the former managing director of a small pharma agribusiness consortium, where he led the architecture of FPO movement in India. He is actually created with minting the word FPO. The FPO acronym is credited to him. Sirs, both of you have extensively written about many elements of the package and have also in past demanded some of the measures that the Honorable FM announced. I request you to lay out for us what the package holds for FPO community. Are there new opportunities? How can we leverage the new opportunities on the anvil, and also the challenges that the COVID imposes on the farm sector and FPOs specifically? So the FPOs would be dealing with surpluses. Surpluses in a demand contraction economy has a challenge. So Siraj Hossain Saab, over to you.
Thank you. Namaskaram. एक्चुअली जो पैकेज फाइनेंस मिनिस्टर ने 5 दिन तक अनाउंस किए, उसमें एग्रीकल्चर पैकेज तकरीबन 1,63,000 करोड़ का पैकेज कहा गया कि एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर के लिए दिया जा रहा है। लेकिन जो हमने उसके डिफरेंट कंपोनेंट्स देखे हैं तो उसमें काफ़ी चीज़ें ऐसा लगता है कि नाबार्ड या किसी अन्य संस्था में कोई फंड क्रिएट किया जाएगा और उसके माध्यम से शायद एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर की फाइनेंसिंग को ये कहा गया है कि पैकेज के थ्रू फाइनेंसिंग होगी। तो अभी ना तो उसकी डिटेल सामने है और ना ही हम ये उम्मीद कर सकते हैं कि बहुत जल्दी एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर को कोई बहुत क्रेडिट फ्लो बढ़ने वाला है, और ना ही ये क्लियर है कि एग्रीकल्चर सेक्टर इस हालत में है कि वो नाबार्ड से अगर फाइनेंसिंग अवेलेबल भी हो जाए, कंसेशनल फाइनेंसिंग भी अवेलेबल हो जाए, तो किस हद तक उसको इस्तेमाल कर पाएगा। तो इस 1,63,000 करोड़ में से ऐसा लगता है कि कोई 5,000 या 6,000 करोड़ शायद इस साल में बजट के थ्रू खर्च हो सके। उसमें भी कई चीज़ों में थोड़ा सा शक लगता है। मिसाल के तौर पे ये कहा गया है कि हर्बल कल्टीवेशन बढ़ाने के लिए 4,000 करोड़ रुपए खर्च किए जाएंगे, मगर मुझे नहीं लगता कि उसमें से इस साल में कितना खर्चा हो पाएगा। कुछ लोगों का मानना है कि 2,000 करोड़ शायद इस साल से हो जाए, मगर मुझे लगता है इतना भी नहीं हो पाएगा। इसी तरीके से बी कीपिंग के लिए 500 करोड़ का प्रोविजन, ये पहले से स्कीम चल रही है और ये बहुत अच्छी स्कीम है, और अगर ये राज्य सरकारों के माध्यम से इम्प्लीमेंट होती है, इसमें अगर एफपीओज भी शामिल होते हैं तो हनी का कल्टीवेशन और हनी की एग्रीगेशन वगैरह में एफपीओज का पार्टिसिपेशन हो सकता है। इसी तरीके से मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ फूड प्रोसेसिंग में एक स्कीम चल रही थी जिसका मकसद ये था कि जिन इलाकों में सरप्लस प्रोडक्शन होता है आलू का या प्याज का या टोमेटो का, तो उनको कंज्यूमिंग एरिया तक लाने के लिए एक सब्सिडी गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से दी जाए। ये स्कीम भी पिछले साल भी थी और इसमें कुछ बहुत ज़्यादा प्रोग्रेस नहीं हो सकी, लेकिन बहरहाल 500 करोड़ का प्रोविजन इसमें रखा गया। तो कुल मिला के हम ये कह सकते हैं कि इस पैकेज में कोई ऐसी चीज़ नहीं है कि बहुत बड़ी फंडिंग इस साल में अवेलेबल हो जाए, लेकिन जिन चीज़ों की वजह से बहुत ज़्यादा एक्साइटमेंट जनरेट हो रहा है वो 2 चीज़ें हैं और वो डायरेक्टली एफपीओ से रिलेटेड है। उसमें से एक तो ये कहा गया है कि हम एग्रीकल्चरल ट्रेड को एपीएमसी की बंदिशों से आज़ाद कर देंगे। अब वो किस तरीके से आज़ादी मिलेगी और क्या नया रेगुलेटरी रेजीम आएगा, ये अभी हमारे सामने नहीं है, और उसकी जब डिटेल्स, जब उसकी तफसील आएंगी तभी उसके बारे में कुछ कहा जा सकेगा। लेकिन ऐसा लगता है कि ये एक अच्छा कदम होगा और एफपीओज को इससे बहुत बड़ा फायदा हो सकता है। आज इसके बारे में चर्चा करना मुनासिब होगा।
You could elaborate on some of the points that he laid out in terms of the budgetary support for the year and on both these exciting policy reforms that.
So only as a filler to Mr. Siraj Hossain's very elaborate I think remarks, which I believe given his experience, insights, and he's written about this in the press recently. As he said, of the 11 points in the Atmanirbhar Bharat package relating to agriculture, 8 are relating to various government schemes. So we, I think, need not spend time here on the schemes because there is a certain design of these schemes which are not necessarily FPO friendly, but they are for all farmers, and there will be always some challenges in the rollout of these schemes, but let's not go into that. As he said, the 3 policy announcements are what are causing some excitement in the agriculture space in general and in the FPO world in particular. Number 1, the prospect of FPOs being able to operate in an environment free of APMC controls. Number 2, the possible amendment or even repeal, we don't know the details yet, of the Essential Commodities Act, which puts stockholding limits on various commodities. And number 3, the prospect of a national level contract farming legislation. तो 3 चीजें, क्योंकि हिंदी के भी बहुत भाषी साथी होंगे, मैं बिल्कुल संक्षेप में बोल रहा हूँ कि जो 3 महत्वपूर्ण बिंदु वित्त मंत्री जी की पैकेज में है। पहला कि जो मंडी का एक अभी एकाधिकार है कृषि विपणन पर, वो खत्म होगा। दूसरा कि जो इसेंशियल कमोडिटीज एक्ट है, आवश्यक वस्तु अधिनियम, उसके कुछ प्रावधानों में लचीलापन आएगा। और तीसरा कि एक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट फार्मिंग, एक अनुबंध पर खेती संबंधी एक राष्ट्रीय स्तर की कानून आएगा। Now, given the experience around this panel, and we have some very distinguished people who have hands-on field experience, we'd like to of course hear from them. But my, humble submission as an overall comment would be that the key challenges that FPOs face, which are more or less a reflection of the larger challenges in agriculture. Many farmers face that, but when farmers come together in collectives like FPOs, especially they are faced with these problems. Number one, how do you access investments? Poonji nivesh kahan se hoga? Number two, how do you access markets in a fair and equitable manner? Bazaar kahan hoga? And third, what about access to technology? कि हमें उन्नत तकनीक कहाँ से मिलेगी? So investments, markets and technology. These are the 3 challenges which frankly we thought could be addressed in a more effective or efficient manner if we formed the collective of farmers, which is known as the FPO. Now, if I put this frame of reference, then how does this package address these 3 challenges? And my simple short answer is, I don't believe that it comprehensively addresses these 3 challenges. The investment ideas in this package, as I said, are all schematic. They are linked to specific schemes. Those schemes are not FPO centric, or they don't even necessarily address how the FPO architecture is designed and how it could leverage the FPO architecture. So investment, in my view, is not something that is addressed, but that's a core problem. How do you access credit to be able to conduct your operations? That is the fundamental challenge that FPOs are facing for the last decade. And though there are some localized solutions, some very innovative solutions, but we don't have a pan-India macro level policy solution. Number 2, markets. Yes, in areas where the APMC in states, where it is particularly rigid in its structure, where there are too many licensing requirements, reporting requirements, paperwork, to the extent that that control will be loosened a bit. And of course, we don't know the contours of this new national level law. So I'll still believe in the intent of the announcement that there will be a more liberalized environment. But until I see the details, I can't say that now this is going to be paradise for FPOs or any collective of producers. Because you see, I don't think that the answer to the excessive regulation of the APMC is no regulation. It is nobody's case that agriculture markets should not be regulated. Then you should also not regulate stock markets. Do we ever say, let us abolish SEBI? Do we ever say, let us abolish the TRAI for telecom? No. We believe that these regulators have brought efficiency into these sectors. It has attracted more capital, technology, and it's brought efficiencies and promoted consumer welfare. The same can happen in agriculture. The issue is that we, I think, jump too quickly. And as Anish said in his opening remarks, people are saying this is a 1991 moment. I would respectfully say that that's a bit of a hyperbole. Without seeing the details of the policy package, I think it's a bit premature to call this a 1991 moment. Now, the third part of this package, which is the contract farming. In my view, this is the most irrelevant piece of so-called reform as far as the FPO world is concerned. With the whatever little understanding of the market I can share with you, especially in the last 3 years working on the Kamatan platform, and before that on the Sabziwala when we began, let me say with great responsibility that corporates do not want to deal with farmers in principle, because there are challenges and risks which cannot be addressed by a corporate entity when they are dealing with a small group of farmers who are organized in a collective. Whether it's a cooperative or a producer company is not the issue. All big corporates, fear the risk of damage to their brand in case they get into a dispute with farmers. All of them know that consistent supply of large volumes at the kind of prices that they want, it is not possible through FPOs, it is only possible through traders. So all of them basically have a model in which traders are their main suppliers. So I do not see this contract farming legislation resulting in hundreds of contracts being signed between corporates and FPOs for production of specific commodities. तो मैं संक्षिप्त में फिर जो मैंने कहा है अंग्रेजी में हिंदी में बोल के अपनी बात रोकूंगा कि मुझे नहीं लगता कि ये जो आत्मनिर्भर भारत पैकेज है, इससे जो FPOs के 3 प्रमुख चुनौतियां हैं, पूंजी निवेश कैसे और बढ़े, बेहतर बाजार कैसे मिले, उन्नत तकनीक कैसे मिले। इस पैकेज में केवल बाजार व्यवस्था को लचीला बनाने के संबंध में कुछ बातें कही गई हैं जो कि अभी एक लक्ष्य के रूप में रखी गई है। इसका कोई विस्तार से विश्लेषण हमारे सामने नहीं आया है। जब तक हम इसका विस्तार से विश्लेषण डिटेल्स नहीं देख लेते हैं, ये कहना अभी उचित नहीं होगा कि अब तो FPOs के बहुत अच्छे दिन आ गए हैं और अब तो वो किसी को भी कहीं भी बेच सकते हैं। अभी मुझे लगता है कि हमें एक नई जो व्यवस्था है, जो नया एक परिप्रेक्ष्य आएगा, ऐसा नहीं होगा कि कोई रेगुलेशन नहीं होगा, कुछ ना कुछ जो नियमावली आएगी। अब वो नए नियम पुराने नियमों से कितने बेहतर हैं, कितने लचीले हैं, ये हमें देखना होगा। So I will stop here, Anish, for the time being, and then maybe if there are some questions at the end, I will be happy to.
Yeah, thank you both, Chirag Sahib and Pravesh. Very insightful. Thank you both. I'll start with Aruna. You at IFHD have looked at critical gaps in the FPOs as an organization and also in the ecosystem. Shivam, can we have Aruna? Yeah. The ProSafe IFHD FPO incubation model has systematically attempts to address issues of the fledgling FPOs also and for upcoming FPOs. So while as Pravesh was highlighting, the rules are not yet out and the contract segment is the most irrelevant of all the 3 major reforms announced. But if we are looking at increased corporate play and on building on what he said that corporates should right now are engaging traders, do you see a space for FPOs, corporates engaging with farmers, coming together? What space you see of commercial investments and having, supported FPOs, your take on what needs to be done at our level?
Thank you, Anish. Also, a very thank you to all the organizers and participants, as well as Parveshji for the overview. I'd just like to kind of quickly take the whole piece about FPO and the Atmanirbhar approach to building capacities within FPOs. A lot in the detailing, of course, we don't have all the details, but what I would like to say here is that possibly the building or the foundation as such has been laid in the past few years, where there's been a lot of policy push towards creation of FPOs or promotion of FPOs. It used to be always my gripe with the government that there's so much focus on looking at promotion and promotion as an end activity rather than looking at FPO promotion to post-promotion registration and post-registration business activities and sustainability. So somewhere along the way, the focus had changed, but I do believe that with the new scheme that's been announced, if the detailing goes well, it does create a huge opportunity case for FPOs to step in terms of, taking their rightful roles as in terms of building on their, not only on the aggregation model, not only on the pure aggregation model, but also in terms of capturing value or better value at production. a lot of the existing systems of centralized food production and distribution, there have been things that kind of COVID revealed as possibly, disruptions or disturbances because of the fact that, grains move long distances, get processed somewhere else, and then get transported back into markets, again, traveling long distances. So perhaps this gives the opportunity. So if you look at, say, the FPO creation as a phase one, wherein maybe the foundation was laid, could we then look at this phase of Atmanirbhar to see whether the FPO ecosystem could be now leveraged and built capacity upon to build the kind of, upper stories in terms of how one develops the value chains and how one can look at decentralized or distributed manufacturing, which possibly is a role that FPOs could fulfill. I very much would like to touch on the whole incubation piece where you look at FPOs post promotion or post registration, the aspects that Praveshji looked at in terms of access to finance, access to markets, and access to technology or technical assistance, as we put it. These are the things that have been covered in PROSIF, which is a doorstep rural business incubator model. Also, I think an FPO's business is highly contextualized. There's no kind of one standard fits all. So when you do incubation, I think a doorstep model works best. It's kind of customized to the environment in which the FPO operates, as well as its own maturity level. Many times in PROSIF, what we've done is not only have been involved in promotion, but we've also been involved in taking on FPOs who have already been registered or promoted by other RIs or who have reached a certain level of maturity or evolution, and then looking at their business operations in terms of consolidation and scale up. So when we look at all of these various formats of the way an FPO has been promoted or how an FPO exists, we do find that there's a strong case for a life cycle approach in terms of looking at FPOs from a value chain perspective, understanding what makes sense in terms of aggregation. There is one issue where, from a policy point of view, currently it is very focused on, per taluk, per hubli, herd the farmers together, per district, herd the farmers together, and then, do something thereafter. Perhaps one can look at a value chain approach even in the farmer mobilization stage. That I would put down as a point. The other aspect, I think, underlying with the technology, technical access, and finance and markets would be skilled HR. Capacity building of FPOs in terms of their business operations, in terms of their ability to manage their contradictions, in terms of their ability to build in resilience and risk mitigation, or risk taking, even, because all FPOs are not entrepreneurial by nature. When you look at us, when you look at the startup ecosystem in India, which is pretty evolved, which is very urban based, there's a whole lot of nurturing that happens, not only in terms of the 3-4 pillars of access, markets, and technology, but there's also a whole lot of mentorship that happens. There's a whole lot of access to networks that happens. So with PROSIF, that was our intent, to see how we could take a ecosystem approach, connect ecosystem players, and then see how the FPO could possibly be picked up at a certain stage and have a customized mentoring plan. And then, kind of on a milestone based with the FPO's own aspirations built in, we could then perhaps look at a kind of roadmap for exit. We've had some good exits, I would say, from FPOs. Our general timelines are anywhere between 2 to 3 years of incubation post-registration. We've also recently kind of picked up some of our more, the FPOs we had exited earlier, some of our more mature FPOs, to look at what now can be done in terms of their own value chain. So here we use the DMDRE approach, which is distributed manufacturing and decentralized renewable energy resource access. And in this process, on a pilot basis with 10 FPOs, 5 in Gujarat and 5 in Karnataka, we've promoted 100 micro enterprises which are integrated into the FPO value chains. Currently the micro enterprises are set up, 30 of them have started operations. We did find that in the COVID-like situation, this possibly gave us ideas as to it is a doable model. Here, I think the traditional concept of scale maybe needs a rethink. And to my mind, there's a whole lot of things that post-COVID, that we can think about rethinking or resetting or rebooting. We're looking at reverse migration. We're looking at skilled migrants possibly going back. Could we look at reskilling? Could we look at how capacity building and skilling of FPOs can be strengthened?
Yeah, Aruna, it's fabulous. So you give me this whole issue of how we could do distributed, decentralized work, segue into now inviting Bala into looking at the role of intermediaries as we bring in what Pravesh was saying, this the three-pronged challenge of technology investments and market access, the role of intermediary organizations like the resource institutions and the promoting institutions. Bala, Shivam, So at Vritti, you have a unique model, the threefold model of seeding and expanding FPOs. You're the few who have set in a mechanism for FPO to pay for shared services. In the post-COVID time also, and there have been many experiences. The other day you were sharing about your linkage with Big Basket, and there have been many other linkages you were talking about with the market. Even before the Atmanirbhar package and the COVID-induced changes, there were some tailwinds in favor of FPOs. How do you see this emerging post the Atmanirbhar package and what Aruna said and the reference to MEF investments and thereof?
Sure. Thanks, Hanish, and thanks NAPCO and Village Square for organizing this webinar, and thanks for the opportunity to share about Vritti perspective on the Atmanirbhar package, and then looking at as an intermediate organization like Vritti, how have been working with FPOs. I think we felt this Atmanirbhar package is overall, we are feeling it is in the right direction. As I think Parveshji was saying about this, I'm saying with optimism, which is because in the spirit of the intent of this package has been announced for with 8 schemes and the 3 reforms. Which we at Vritti feeling that I think because FPO it's a corporate entity because it's registered under Companies Act, which is I'm talking about what Vritti has been registering the producer organization into Companies Act, where we are looking at how do we bring in the corporate principles and then efficiency. I think these schemes, which is about Essential Commodity Act, I think when the crop prices are falling down and how the FPO can actually play a crucial role in kind of buying from the farmers, offer a better price, fair price, which is viable for the farmers to survive and continue their livelihoods. I think that's where I feel FPO can play a role. I think there is also a scheme coming in where which is infrastructure at the farm gate, which is for not only for storage, it's also for value addition as well. When it comes to it's a staple, then you can do a store stocking it, and when it is a perishable, it is going into the lower price. I think the FPO should get into the which is now also food processing, which is enterprises have been also announced. I think how that these opportunities can be leveraged and kind of use these opportunities to help farmers to get better price. I think I look at this as an opportunity with optimism. I think the details are awaited, but still the spirit of the scheme, which looks very promising. The second, which we talk about on the free trade, which is which FPO can actually go to farmers or the FPO go to any state and they do the trading. I think this lockdown also has given some of the opportunities through ENAM or there is a mandi, which is in Delhi, where there are farmers producer organization able to use these opportunities. I see it, I think this opening of for free trade movement, and plus bringing in the different channel which can actually help FPOs to use this opportunity, not only going through the APMC route. I feel it's a welcome idea and it is in the right direction. I think we'll be able to leverage this, and but I look at what Aruna was saying, and also the study which is Richa and team has done is pointing out how do we build the capabilities of the FPOs to kind of leverage these opportunities. How do we empower these FPOs to look at these opportunities and grab these opportunities and control over the value chain, and control over and governing this value chain is important. That's where the role of like Vritti kind of organization comes into picture. I think the organization like Vritti also needs to build their own team's capabilities, because you need to be not looking at it as a service. It is about agriculture as a business. We are looking at it. I think that's a bit of challenges there, but I with the optimism, I'm saying that it is huge opportunity for like Vritti and the FPO to use these free trade and the APMC, which is now it's going to be new avatar, how we can actually use it. I also see, I think we are also discussed several times with Parvez ji on the contract farming. I think it is very early to look at it, but still, I also see how do we help farmers to get something. It's assured income for the farmers, which can actually help them. There is no risk of, when it's like we always tell that when farmers harvested, taking it to mandi or to any of the platform, it is about taking dead body there. Yeah, you cannot bring back again, because it's about huge cost, logistical cost coming into the picture. But when these kind of contract farming can help FPOs also kind of have a relationship with farmers and assured income for the farmers, and these I see is an opportunity, huge opportunity, but again it required caution, care, because when we do it with good intention, with whatever the spirit in which this package is coming in, if you deliver it, it will be a truly transformative package. But I also, because when it comes into a market intervention, because we all know the challenges, if it is a market economy, what kind of challenges can come in also. But how do we empower our farmers producer organization and the farmers to leverage as an opportunity, and the capabilities of the intermediate organization also needs to be built. That's where the investments are required. Yeah, I look at one is about, I think we have been, as I think Anis, you are saying, we have been investing. We have not looked at as a project, this FPO program. We have been investing as an organization, as a group, as a Catalyst group. We have been spending money for setting up a facility where I think Parvez is talking about the financing. The investment is not available. How do we help a blended financing, which is we are looking at through our facility, where you also offer, which is we learned from SIDBI, where the NGOs are becoming a like microfinance institute. They were offering debt plus human resource capacity building and the technology support, which for the NGOs. I think similarly, which we are designed a product which can actually help FPOs to establish a value chain, which is maybe goat value chain, which is a groundnut value chain, which is a millet value chain, or it's a tomato value chain, where you required new set of people, experts are required. How that entire investments can come from debt and also grant, which we are actually designed a product. It's a blended financing, which through facility we are actually going to establish in 3 locations, two in Karnataka, one in Tamil Nadu, which soon this year will be established. Similarly, it is also we are looking at the development impact bond, which has come in for NGOs to. It's about based on the success, you will get a funding and then you will get a return. Similarly, we are looking at for the FPOs as well to establish this value chain. We are developing a agri bond, which can also help FPOs to establish a value chain. Like we have a custard apple value chain, which is in Kanker, which is now only pulp is there. How do we move it to the ice cream? How do we move to the chocolate? Yeah, these are all the products can help us to test it. And then these schemes also help us to leverage the corporate partnership, leverage the investments, leverage the schemes which has been coming in. I think I see truly transformative it's going to be. That's what the Vritti is looking at. The post-COVID will be able to, the new kind of journey for the farmers and the farmers producer organization.
Thank you, Bala. Fabulous. And some of the things that you placed on blended finance, agri bonds, and many of us would love to learn more about it, and do share more so that we can go back to the community and build on them. And the point that you said about the whole outlook of agriculture as a business, Ashish, you have been a forerunner in this. You have always talked about agriculture as a business, and you were part of the the formulation of first ever state policy in Madhya Pradesh. You have years in various places. You have years in NABARD, you have years in SFAC. I would like you to bring in your perspectives in context of Atmanirbhar Bharat package with the 10,000 FPO plan, the various things that NABARD has been talking about, and there will always be a large state government play. And what kind of things you are hearing there in post-COVID Atmanirbhar Bharat package, and your perspective on how one could seamlessly build an opportunity for FPOs to seize the moment.
Okay, thank you, Anish. Sabhi ko namaskar. I have 6 very specific points to make, Anish, and आप कह सकते हो कि 6 सूत्री प्रोग्राम सरकार के लिए ही है. उसमें से 5 of them would be kind of a reforms related, and एक जो है सरकार की जो अब जो 10,000 FPOs की बात हो रही है उसके बारे में है. Let me also tell you that had it been about 2-3 months ago before the COVID, I would not have probably recommended few of them because they are little protection centric, and for last few days or a week, I have been trying my level best to delink the protectionism and the Atmanirbharta, but I am not able to find an answer. मेरे को लग रहा है कि protectionism and Atmanirbharta दोनों side by side, एक ही coin की दोनों side है, हमको शायद उस तरह से देखना पड़ेगा. तो थोड़ा बहुत protectionism की बात भी मैं यहाँ पर किया हूँ. Okay, now first about this 10,000 FPOs, government was supposed to roll it out as per the plan last year itself. This was to roll out, so 250 FPOs was to be promoted last year, but abhi wo hua nahi hai. This year they have a target for about 1,000. In fact, enhanced public investment expenditure at the moment is the need of the hour. I am looking at it in a little different way. मैं सरकार को ये कहना चाहूँगा कि second and third year की भी आपके जो target है, which is about 2,500 more, you carve it out from there and promote 4,000 FPO in year 1 itself, that is 2020-21, because each FPO promotion will create 5,000 professional mandates. And for 4,000 FPOs, we will create 2 crore professional mandates at the rate of 500 rupees per day. मेरे को इससे बेहतर अपॉर्चुनिटी कुछ नहीं दिख रहा है कि मैं FPO भी बना सकता हूँ और प्रोफेशनल मैंडेट्स भी क्रिएट कर सकता हूँ, बिकॉज फर्स्ट ईयर में FPO के लिए 25 lakhs की एलोकेशंस होता है एक FPO के केस में. सो आई एम बेसिकली टेलिंग दैट इसको बड़ी तरीके से हम यूज करें, होशियारी से यूज करें, सो विल बी एबल टू जनरेट लॉट ऑफ प्रोफेशनल मैंडेट्स. दैट्स अबाउट 2 crore, व्हिच इज अ गुड नंबर. मेरे सेकंड पॉइंट है कि यहीं पर मेरा आत्मनिर्भरता की बात आता है, प्रोटेक्शनिज्म की बात आता है, डिमांड क्रिएट की पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से मैं देख रहा हूँ. मैं इमीडिएटली सरकार को कहना चाहता हूँ कि आपकी जितना भी सरकारी परचेज है, whether it is MSP purchase, whether it is a defense supplies, whether it is a midday meal, whether it is your saplings purchase by the forest department, anything that you purchase or is in your canteens, government canteens, raw or semi processed agri commodities, जो भी आप खरीदते हैं, ये आप 25% रिजर्व करिए FPO या प्रोड्यूसर्स ग्रुप के नाम पे, because you have to create demand and for that you have to protect your because you said local आपको vocal होना चाहिए या locally आपको बचाया है, तो this is the opportunity to save the local. and we can actually, and charity must begin from home. So ये करना चाहिए. मैं साथ साथ सरकार को ये भी कहना चाहूंगा कि प्लीज आप जो ई कॉमर्स हैं, सिंगल ब्रांड, मल्टी ब्रांड जो आपके जो सुपरमार्केट्स है, उनको भी बोलिए कि 25% तक वो एग्री related commodities, semi-processed commodities, they should procure from the producers groups, including FPOs. मेरा इसमें बताने की जरूरत नहीं. तो when you do this, you will definitely invest a lot of money in the rural sector, which is the need of the hour, and of course, you will create employment. Now about the credit, I would like government to tell the banks that within the PSL limit, the priority sector limit, they should create a sub-target for the FPO lending. Why the banks are not so far been lending to the FPOs? They are not even 5% of the total credit portfolio of the FPOs today. So unless you give them a target as a sub-target within the PSL, this is not going to happen. And if that doesn't happen, the loan is not cheaper for the FPOs. My fourth one, मैं NABARD को कहना चाहता हूं कि look, you have a lot of money. You refinance NBFCs which are financing to the FPOs. If you can refinance to your own NBFCs at the rate of 6% or 4.5% at par with the repo rate, why can't you do it for the NBFCs? Of course, there should be a kind of a rider that their rate of interest should be within the same rate that your NBFCs are doing. Fifth one is about within the definition of the MSMEs, include FPOs, because they will then get the protection of 3 lakh crore credit guarantee fund which has been created. Or if you can't do it, then create a very big credit guarantee fund or the fast loss guarantee fund for the FPOs. And last one, bring the NBFCs, not only the NABARD promoted NBFCs, but all NBFCs which are active in the FPO financing under the credit guarantee cover. That's it. Thank you so much.
थैंक यू वेरी मच आशीष. ये जो आपने 6 सूत्री कार्यक्रम बताए हैं, इन कार्यक्रम को जो परिचर्चा से और भी बिंदुओं को जोड़ते हुए सरकार तक पहुंचाते हैं और एक इसके अराउंड में एक नैरेटिव बिल्ड करने की कोशिश किया जाए. Many of these points we have raised individually, collectively in various forums. We need to get our act together to place. These are doable things what you have, Ashish. Thank you very much. Now coming to you, Yogesh. Shivam, can we have Yogesh ji? Madhya Bharat, for Yogesh ji, you have a whole range of FPOs across, and that's what your map shows. Across the state you have been working with government at different levels, and you have been mounting campaigns both at the national level and at the state level, dealing with the principal secretaries, starting with Pravesh Sharma ji, actually, if I remember correctly. You have been dealing with the challenges of Mandi. First, NAFED procurement of MSPs you did. You have spoken so forcefully on the Mandi reforms in MP. तो आपने ना इस पैकेज को कैसा करके ना देखते हैं? जैसा करके प्रवेश जी ने बोला है, ये तो लक्ष्य है, कहीं दूर का लक्ष्य निर्धारित करने वाली बात है. बाला बोल रहे हैं कि इसमें बहुत ऑप्टिमिस्टिकली देखा जाए तो कई तरह का अपॉर्चुनिटीज क्रिएट होता है. अरुणा और आशीष ने विभिन्न बिंदुओं पर रेखांकित किया है जिससे जो भी सरकार बोल रही है, if we were to help them walk the talk, many things can be done for the FPOs. आप इसको कैसे करके देखते हैं?
राइट, सभी को नमस्कार. मैं योगेश मध्य भारत कंसोर्शियम से बोल रहा हूँ, जो एक स्टेट मध्य प्रदेश FPOs का फेडरेशन है. 2-3 पॉइंट पे मैं बात रखना चाहूंगा. पहला जो आपने बोला, जो ये आत्मनिर्भर भारत का जो पैकेज है, वो FPOs के लिए किस तरह का उसमें से हम अपॉर्चुनिटी या क्या प्रोस्पेक्ट्स हमें दिख रहा है. इनफैक्ट जो हमने देखा, दोनों पैकेज, एक 1.5 लाख करोड़ का है और एक 1 लाख करोड़ का है. 1 लाख करोड़ वाले में उन्होंने, आपने देखा होगा स्पेसिफिकली, उन्होंने FPOs कोऑपरेटिव और इसके लिए पर्टिकुलरली फार्म गेट लेवल पे इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, वैल्यू एडिंग प्रोसेसिंग, स्टोरेज इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की बात हो रही है. उसमें इनफैक्ट स्पेसिफाई किया हुआ है. वो एक बड़ी अपॉर्चुनिटी है. अगर हम ये मानते हैं कि सभी पंचायत या क्लस्टर लेवल पे अगर उस
ऐसे को अगर यूज किया जाता है और उस तरह के इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर उसमें स्पेसिफिक, चूंकि उसमें उन्होंने 1 लाख करोड़ में स्पेसिफाई किया हुआ है कि वो फार्म गेट लेवल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के लिए होगा, तो वो एक बड़ी अपॉर्चुनिटी है एफपीओस को। हमें लगता है कि अगर उसको ऑनेस्टली और उस इंटेंशन के साथ अगर वो इम्प्लीमेंट होता है तो काफी सपोर्ट मिलेगा एफपीओस को बिजनेस करने के लिए। जो उनकी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की जो प्रॉब्लम्स है ये उसको होगा। अभी हम लोगों ने उसी कॉन्टेस्ट में 2 दिन पहले डायरेक्टर एग्रीकल्चर ने स्टेट गवर्नमेंट ने मीटिंग रखी थी, तो मेरे को उन्होंने बुलाया था, तो हमने उसमें इनफैक्ट उनके प्लान में नहीं था, बट मैंने उस पर रखा कि कैसे अगर 1 लाख करोड़ वाले पैकेज में हमने मध्य प्रदेश में कि जो 2 मॉडल है, एक तो जो 10,000 एफपीओ वाला था उसमें हमने बोला सर कम से कम मध्य प्रदेश से 500 एफपीओ को आप इसमें टारगेट पे रखो, और 2,000 करोड़ का पैकेज मेरा ये था कि उसमें से हर एफपीओ में कम से कम प्रदेश में अभी 250 एफपीओ 300 एफपीओ लगभग बनी हुई है, उसमें से 200 काम कर रही है ग्राउंड में। तो इनको लेकर के अगर और नई एफपीओ भी आती है तो 2,000 करोड़ का जो पैकेज बेसिकली, उसमें से हमारा कहना यह था कि स्टेट को एग्रेसिवली मूव करना चाहिए। जो राज्य जितना तेजी से एग्रेसिवली मूव कर सकेंगे, सेंट्रल के साथ कोऑर्डिनेशन करके उस पैसे को अगर ले सकेंगे, वो स्मार्टली उसको ले सकते हैं और उसको यूज किया जा सकता है। सो डायरेक्टर एग्रीकल्चर ने एपीसी एक कार्य योजना जो स्टेट की बनी है उसमें उन्होंने 2,000 करोड़ का एफपीओ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर पे उन्होंने रखा हुआ है। आल्दो उसमें काफी काम करना है, अब आगे देखना है कि वो लोग कितना फास्टली मूव करते हैं, सेंट्रल में अप्रोच करते हैं, बट वो एक अपॉर्चुनिटी है और उससे हमें मेनली ये है, डिपेंड करता है कि स्टेट की जो लीडरशिप है, स्टेट का जो सिस्टम है एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, वो कितना उसको यूज कर पाता है, क्योंकि अभी उसमें कोई गाइडलाइन ज्यादा बनी नहीं है और स्टेट अगर उसमें चाहेगा तो उसमें शायद इन्फ्लुएंस कर सकता है और अच्छा उस अपॉर्चुनिटी को अपने किसानों के लिए और एफपीओ के लिए वो पहुंचा सकता है। तो ये है। दूसरा मुद्दा जो सर ऑलरेडी इसमें सर ने बताया है, बेसिकली एक बड़ा इशू है रिफॉर्म जो एपीएमसीज को लेकर के। यद्यपि अभी सभी को मालूम है कि कंकरेंट सब्जेक्ट होने से, संपत्ति सूची होने से सेंट्रल की जो अभी एक अप्रीहेंशन लोगों की है कि स्टेट के एक्ट खत्म हो जाएंगे, केवल सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट के द्वारा ही जो अभी रिफॉर्म किया जा रहा है वो सभी जगह लागू हो जाएगा। ऐसा शायद ऐसा होने वाले में जो मेरा ऐसा मानना है शायद इतना आसान नहीं होगा और वो करना भी सेंट्रल के लिए इजी नहीं होगा, क्योंकि स्टेट भी अपना उसको भी अपने एग्रीकल्चर और जो संपत्ति सूची के जो विषय है उसमें उसको भी नियम बनाने का अधिकार है। मध्य प्रदेश में अभी काफी प्रेशर था, चूंकि एपीएलएम जो 2017 एक्ट था उसमें सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट चूंकि भाजपा की गवर्नमेंट है वहां पे उनके द्वारा चूंकि शुरू किया गया था, तो ये स्टेट में आल्दो इन्होंने काफी रजिस्ट किया, 2 साल 3 साल इस पे कोई काम किया नहीं था। प्रवेश सर भी थे और कुछ कमेटियां भी बनी थी, बट कुछ काम नहीं हुआ था। लेकिन अभी मुख्यमंत्री महोदय चूंकि कोविड ने प्रेशर क्रिएट किया है सबके ऊपर कि अपने जहां भी रिफॉर्म हो सकता है, तो वो मुख्यमंत्री जी ने घोषणा भी की और उसमें काम भी हो गया, मतलब उन्होंने घोषणा कर दी। पर अभी जो रिसेंटली उनका आया हुआ है 2 परसों जो उन्होंने निकाला हुआ है, कुछ पत्रिका वाले ने मैं पढ़ रहा था, उन्होंने कुछ उसके जो क्रिस्प लेके आए हैं जो रिफॉर्म है, स्टिल उसमें उन्होंने कई सारे राइडर लगा के रखे हैं। जो मेरा अप्रीहेंशन था, जो डर था, वो डर थोड़ा सा लग रहा है कि आप रिफॉर्म की बात तो कर रहे हैं लेकिन उसमें बहुत सारे उन्होंने उसमें रख दिया। वो जो उन्होंने राइडर उसमें लगा दिए हैं, चाहे वो प्राइवेट मंडी हो, प्राइवेट मंडी सब यार्ड हो, कई सारे जो है उसमें एफपीओ के लिए जगह लेना बड़ा मुश्किल हो जाएगा, क्योंकि वो उनको ही सूट करेगा जिनके पास पूंजी है, जिनके पास कैपिटल है। तो हमारा जो बार बार सरकार से कहना था कि आप कुछ हमें कुछ स्कोप दीजिए। स्कोप देने के लिए चूंकि हमारे पास उतना बड़ा इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं है, 4 हेक्टेयर लैंड हम खरीद नहीं सकते, तो एफपीओ के लिए अगर गवर्नमेंट लैंड इस तरह की फैसिलिटीज मिले, वो जो अभी भी एमडी की बात हो रही है कि आप कुछ खरीदी के लिए काफी बड़ी मात्रा में आपको सिक्योरिटी मनी डिपॉजिट करना होगा, बहुत सारा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर क्रिएट करना होगा, तो शायद एफपीओ के लिए वो करना आसान होगा, इनफैक्ट फेडरेशन लेवल पे कठिन होगा। तो वहां पे कुछ हमें स्पेशल प्रेफरेंस की बात हो रही है, कुछ कंसेशन की बात हो रही है या पीओस को, क्योंकि इसमें सबसे बड़ा जो अप्रीहेंशन है, इनफैक्ट हमने शुरू में काफी इसको सपोर्ट किया है जो रिफॉर्म हुआ है मध्य प्रदेश में, लेकिन अभी एक डर है, जो मैं जा रहा हूँ अभी 2 दिन पहले मैं सीहोर और कई जगह डिस्ट्रिक्ट में था, तो वहां भी है कि सर ये तो ऐसा ना हो कि ये बड़े बड़े जो पूंजीपति उनके द्वारा मंडी है, क्योंकि अभी जो वर्तमान में जो आईटीसी और ये जो परचेस कर रहे हैं ये पूरी तरह से, चाहे वो रिलायंस जितने भी वायर है उनकी जो पॉलिसीज है वो पूरी एक तरफा है। उस पॉलिसीज में कोई भी सप्लायर या जो प्रोड्यूसर है उसका कोई से नहीं है। जितना भी उन्होंने पॉलिसी बनाते हैं वो एक तरफा डिक्टेट करते हैं। वो उसमें जैसे मैं आपको एग्जांपल दूं, बहुत सारे अनइथिकल प्रैक्टिसेस हैं जो बायर सभी कर रहे हैं, जो कहीं भी अगर उसको कोर्ट में हम लेके जाएंगे कभी वो जस्टिफाई नहीं हो पाएगा। हम कोशिश भी कर रहे हैं, उसको ले जाने वाले कोर्ट पे, लेकिन दिक्कत हमारे साथ है कि चूंकि हमें बिजनेस भी करना है, उनके साथ काम भी करना है, तो हमारे लिए दिक्कत है। उन्होंने सीडी का एक प्रोविजन रखा हुआ है, कैश डिस्काउंट। हम बोल रहे हैं कि भैया आप मेरे को 10 दिन में पैसे दे दो, लेकिन मेरा सीडी मत काटो। बोलते नहीं, हम तो सीडी काटेंगे क्योंकि हमारा वो नियम है। तो दे आर नॉट एग्रीड कि बोले हम तो इंडिया लेवल पे हमारी पॉलिसी बनी है। वो हमारे बोरी के वजन काटते हैं, बैग के वजन काटते हैं, जिसके एक पैसे वो नहीं देते, बट वो हमारा 1300 ग्राम वजन 1 क्विंटल में काट लेते हैं। ऐसे कई सारे उनका जो टेस्टिंग की जो उनकी अभी असेइंग उनका मेथड है, उसमें पूरी तरह से उनका कंट्रोल है, उसमें हमारा कोई भी ट्रांसपेरेंसी नहीं है। हम उसमें, उनका आदमी बैठा हुआ है, वो टेस्टिंग कर रहा है, वो जो रिपोर्ट दे रहा है, कुछ जो बड़े ऑर्गेनाइजेशन रिपोर्ट देने में 1 हफ्ते का समय लगाते हैं, इमीडिएट रिपोर्ट नहीं। तो ये जो अनएथिकल प्रैक्टिसेस है, बट हमारी मजबूरी है कि हम फिर भी उनके पास जाते हैं, क्योंकि हमारे पास जो सेल्स के जो चॉइस है वो बहुत कम है। तो ये जो अभी वर्तमान जो ये इस तरह का है, ये मोनोपोली है, हो रही है अभी हमारे आंखों के नीचे, हमारे नाकों के नीचे हो रही है, सरकार के सामने हो रही है। अभी जो नया रिफॉर्म आएगा, इसमें और बड़े ऐसे लोग आएंगे, लेकिन इनको जो सर ने, प्रवेश सर ने बोला है कि ऐसे कई जगह हुआ है, इस तरह लोगों को छोड़ दिया गया है। आपका बिहार एक बहुत बड़ा एग्जाम्पल है। तो मेरा ये मानना है बड़ा स्ट्रांगली कि हम इंस्पेक्टर राज के बिल्कुल खिलाफ है, लेकिन कहीं ना कहीं एक अपील में हो, एक ऐसी व्यवस्था हो जहां पे गलत प्रैक्टिसेस को, जो रॉन्ग प्रैक्टिसेस है, जो एक तरह का, इस तरह का जो ट्रांसपेरेंसी की जो प्रोक्यूरमेंट प्रोसेस में उनकी पॉलिसीज में जहां नहीं है, वहां पे हम अपील कर सके। और ऐसे गलत प्रैक्टिसेस को, जो रोल ट्राई ने, जो बार बार बात आता है, उसका एग्जांपल हम लोग देते हैं, जो रोल टेलीकॉम रेगुलेटरी अथॉरिटी ऑफ इंडिया ने किया है, पेनाल्टी लगाया है 5 उस तरह की व्यवस्थाएं जरूर होनी चाहिए। डे टू डे बिजनेस में इंटरफियर नहीं होना चाहिए। वो जो अभी मंडी अनुज्ञा की बात, अभी मैं पढ़ रहा था कि नए रिफॉर्म में लिखा है कि मंडी का अनुज्ञा तो आपको मंडी से ही लेना पड़ेगा। ये व्यवस्था की बिल्कुल जरूरत नहीं है। ये अगर इस तरह की आप व्यवस्था करेंगे तो जो आपका रिफॉर्म का जो ऑब्जेक्टिव है वो पूरी तरह से डिफीट हो जाएगा। तो ये मेरा कुछ अप्रेहेंसिव और कुछ ये इश्यूज है, बट मेरे को लगता है कि शुरुआत हुई है, रिफॉर्म की शुरुआत देर से हुई है। इसमें लोग इसको रोकने की बहुत कोशिश करेंगे, जो दिक्कत अभी दिख रही है, क्योंकि इतना आसानी से इसको लोग पास नहीं होने देंगे। और ये बात हम अपने लेवल पे तो जहां तक पहुंच है उसको लोगों तक पहुंचाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। और प्रवेश सर है, सिराज साहब है, आशीष जी है, बहुत सारे लोग हैं और जो लोग काम कर रहे हैं अपने अपने अलग अलग लेवल पे। तो ये है कि अगर रिफॉर्म का वास्तव में जो ऑब्जेक्टिव है वो डिफीट नहीं होना चाहिए। ऐसे दोबारा रूल्स या ऐसे गाइडलाइन ना बना दिया जाए कि फिर आप उसको दोबारा उसी प्रोसेस में ले जाओ। और साथ में जो स्मॉल फार्मर्स के जो इंटरेस्ट है उसको जरूर हमें प्रोटेक्ट करना चाहिए। और उसके लिए क्योंकि हम कैपिटलिस्ट बेस्ड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन नहीं है, तो हमें सपोर्ट गवर्नमेंट से जरूरी है, हमें कंसेशन की जरूरत पड़ेगी। थैंक यू सो मच।
थैंक यू वाइक। एज ऑलवेज आपने ना बहुत महत्वपूर्ण बिंदु इतना पैशन के साथ प्लेस किए हैं और प्रैक्टिकल आइडियाज। इतना बड़ा रिफॉर्म का बात कर रहे हैं, कैन हम अनस्टक इस तरह का रूल्स बना देंगे कि जिसमें एफपीओ पार्टिसिपेट ही नहीं कर सकता। 1 लाख करोड़ वाले का मैंने भी जिस दिन अनाउंस हुआ, मेरे को भी 3-4 लोगों ने फोन करके बोला ये बहुत बड़ा अनाउंसमेंट हुआ। मैं जाके देखने लगा, ये तो नाबार्ड के लिए है कि पैसा ना उठाएगा, कभी पैसा उठाएगा। उन्होंने जरूर बात किया है, एफएम ने एक इंटरव्यू में बोला कि एफपीओ को उन्होंने स्पेसिफिकली बोला है। तो यही ऑफ बजट आइटम है जो सिराज हुसैन साहब बोल रहे थे, इसको हम देखें जी कैसे है इसका इस्तेमाल होगा, कब जाकर के इस्तेमाल होगा। मैं ना रिचा जी से ना रिक्वेस्ट करूंगा, शिवम इफ यू कैन पुट ना रिचा जी। रिचा, यू हैव हर्ड ना सभी स्टेक होल्डर्स को, एक्सपर्ट्स को भी आपने ना सुने। यू आल्सो हैव व्यूज ऑन आत्मनिर्भर भारत पैकेज। You did a very rich study and many of our panelists उसका संदर्भ ले रहे थे, past, present and future। अब मैं ये समझना चाह रहा हूँ, क्या ये हम लोग फ्यूचर में पहुंच गए हैं? जो पोस्ट कोविड आत्मनिर्भर भारत के हिसाब से क्या हम लोग वो जो फ्यूचर आपने रेखांकित किया है, and you talked about 7,300 odd FPOs उनका challenge. You are saying actually that about 10% of the total farm households should act, or in a short period of time indicated could be part of FPOs. In this context, what role you see for promoters? What should shift in their playbook as they build these new organizations? What kind of capacities? Bala also referred to capacities of the intermediary organization. What needs to be done? And your perspective on Atmanirbhar Bharat package.
Sure, thank you. So I think many people have already shared their views on the Atmanirbhar package, and I would agree with the statements that have been made. If we look at specifically the schemes for agriculture or wherever FPOs have been mentioned, many of these are existing schemes. So the question really becomes, are FPOs in a position to take advantage of whatever is there? Maybe I'll spend a little bit of time discussing that. As part of our study, we identified 7 challenges, and I'll just take time to discuss only 3 of them in the interest of time. So I think the most important one is, who is the FPO for, right? Because in our study, whenever we talk to farmers, they said कि ये हमारी ही कंपनी है, लेकिन अगर आप उनसे कुछ भी डिटेल में पूछें कि इस कंपनी में क्या हो रहा है, वो थोड़ा बहुत ऑपरेशंस के अलावा ज़्यादा बता नहीं पाते हैं. So it seems to me that while there is some vague idea कि this is their company, उनको थोड़ा ownership की अभी कमी है. So one of the most important things is that once the farmers own कि ये असली में हमारी company है, I think that is really when we will start seeing much more progress towards the future that we would all like to see. Second thing is that many times these companies, and this is what we saw, don't really have deep business expertise. तो business में अलग-अलग तरह की expertise चाहिए होती है, तो सभी को पता है, right? कि आपको एक अपना operations कैसे करना है, उसकी expertise चाहिए. आपको ये expertise चाहिए कि अगर बिक्री करनी है, किसको करनी है, कैसे select करे customer को, etc. and supplier and so on. But there is also a part about business strategy. कि सबको अपना ब्रांड बनाना है, कि सबको मिलके अपना ब्रांड बनाना है, कि ब्रांड बनाना ही नहीं है, हमको तो कंपनी को बेचना है, इसमें ब्रांड की क्या जरूरत है, right? So this business strategy part was really missing. That was the biggest gap, and in our study we have called this business acumen, and I think that is a very, very important piece that is missing in most of even the ones that often get talked about as more successful companies. वहाँ पे भी हमने देखा कि इसकी कमी है. And the third one that I would bring up for today's discussion is about capitalization. So a lot of the discussion that we see about companies is around working capital, about loans. But one of the issues that usually doesn't get talked about is कि उनका जो equity है, share owners equity है, shareholders equity है, वो बहुत कम है. So only about only about 14% of the companies have more than 10 lakhs of farmers' equity. अगर आप उसका limit कम भी कर दे, तो only about 1/3 of the companies have more than 5 lakhs. Now, it is understandable that any lender, would be careful about lending larger amounts, which is what is needed for agricultural trade, for processing, to companies which don't have that much equity. So one of the questions to think about is how do we actually increase this? The last category of points I would raise is, what are we really trying to do with these companies, right? It's understandable that what we're trying to do is increase the incomes of small producers. But is there anything else? And that other thing is what I would like to bring everyone's attention to, which is to increase the resilience of these very small farmers everywhere to shocks. There will be all kinds of shocks. Abhi COVID ka lockdown ka shock hai, but later on, there might be climate change related shocks. I mean, every few years there are drought related economic shocks, other kinds of market price shocks. So how do we really use these farmer producer companies to improve the resilience of small producers to shocks? And here I would like to recommend 3 things. One is the point that has already been made by Aruna and Bala also, that it's very important to create a set of infrastructure near farm for storage, processing. But what is missing, because these schemes have been around, the Agriculture Infrastructure Fund, for example, and other schemes have been around. But what we have not done so far is really explore different kinds of models. So does every FPC need this? Like, must there be a processing facility at every FPC? Or should there be maybe, geographically a group of FPCs who come together and set up a common facility? Should there be a joint venture of sorts, right, together with an entrepreneur, where FPC and the private entrepreneur are able to put in money for a processing facility? So we have not seen so many of these kinds of explorations of different kinds of models, which may be necessary. Second one is what I was talking about, the shortage of business acumen. There also, again, the assumption is that each FPC must be able to pay for their own CEO. But perhaps, these FPCs currently are very small. I mean, if you really think about it in the larger scheme of things. So perhaps, shared resources, people who are well-trained and experienced can also be shared across FPCs. And that kind of thinking is there in very small pockets, but we're not really seeing that really being explored enough. And the third one, I think when we think about long-term resilience, what is needed is really helping farmers to shift towards sustainable practices. And I don't mean organic because that's one kind of practice. I mean, generally more sustainable agricultural practices help the farmers shift towards more crops which are ecologically sensitive and responsive to whatever the reality of water availability. Be able to do some of these things. I mean, I've highlighted 3, there would be many more, but let's say these 3 things, it should help mitigate some of the negative consequences of various kinds of economic shocks that very small producers face.
Thank you, Aruna. Super points. And I'd like the panelists to pick up on this whole supply of entrepreneurship to FPOs, this whole idea of joint stakes company. Parveshji, as a part of the erstwhile Planning Commission's working group, had made a recommendation on joint stakes company. And with Kamathan, the Rural Business Hub idea is in some ways a partnership of FPOs with corporate acumen coming in. But now I would like Anisha to place some participant questions to the panelists. Anisha?
Yes, Anish. So there have been more than 47 questions so far, and some of them have been answered. Some of the questions are, do you think FPOs should be categorized as startups and MSME should be given similar benefits as startups and MSMEs have been given?
So Pravesh, would you like to?
Well, I in principle will agree with this, because what is the FPO except a rural SME, and it is a rural startup. So, but when I look at the larger context of startups, especially agri startups, I see no special benefits being made available to these startups. So if we in principle agree, what does it mean in actual practice? It doesn't mean anything. It's not that agri startups have automatic access to equity finance or working capital finance. It's the same challenge that any SME faces. Yes, you get a registration from the DIPP, which may give you some tax break, but in any case, most startups would be so below the threshold that that tax break really doesn't make a difference. I would rather pick up the point which Ashish made, which is to treat FPOs as part of the MSME definition. And let me tell you today, FPOs do not fall in the MSME definition because they are seen as essentially trading enterprises. And trading enterprises are not part of the MSME definition. You'll be surprised that service sector organizations have recently been included. So if you're running a consultancy firm, you can be considered an MSME. But if you're running an FPO, you will not be considered an MSME. I would say the low-hanging fruit is to recognize FPOs as MSMEs, and then these 2 recent provisions as part of this Atmanirbhar Bharat package, which was not part of agriculture but part of the one of the earlier press conferences, this was revealed. 2 things. One, the access to credit under that overall credit guarantee fund which Ashish referred to, but I would add a second, which is more important in my view, which is the provision of subordinate debt. So there's a window which has been created for investment in tier 2 capital. This tier 2 capital invested in FPOs will significantly enhance their capacity to leverage working capital debt from financial institutions, including NBFCs. So I would say that a combination of MSME recognition and access to tier 2 capital will be more effective than merely being recognized as startups.
Right.
Anisha.
Yeah, the next question is around human resource. So capacity building reform for agri sector is often ignored at policy level. can government NGOs set up training programs for individuals wanting to get involved with FPOs on the lines of skill development policy? Are there any training programs available?
Anyone on the panel?
Go to Ashish. He's doing some interesting work in this regard. I think
Ashish.
Well, I
Yes.
think okay, thank you. मेरे को लगता है कि जो HR issues हैं वो chicken and egg issue है, since FPO sector is still not so vibrant, so it cannot really attract the talented professionals. But one or two talented professionals or few talented professionals is not going to solve the problem. And I have been saying this for a long time, that we need to create an institutional mechanism through which we have to provide the professional support to the FPOs. Something like, NDDB that I have been saying all these years, that we need a support ecosystem which is a multi-dimensional, multi-sectoral, and supporting FPO right from the FPO incubation to handhold them till they reach a level, and then that will probably solve the problem. I mean, just think about it. 60 years ago, 70 years ago, when the dairy movement started, I'm sure they also faced the similar kind of professionals issue, but they have sorted that out through an institutional kind of interventions. And I think that should be the way we should be taking it forward. Just by doing some courses here and there, or deploying few professionals, trained professionals in few FPOs, or creating a federation, etc., is not going to help.
Yes, Anisha. Next one. Thanks,
Yeah.
Ashish.
Would strengthening and deepening of futures market or alternate markets for agri products help in price discovery and risk management of FPOs? And now that FPOs and farmers can sell outside APMC format and on ENAM, how will price discovery be affected?
Siraj Saab.
Actually, the new law for trading outside the APMC jurisdiction is still under discussion in the government. So we do not know what will be the contours of that law. But I think FPOs and other players will have some more leeway, a much more free environment to buy from farmers and sell to not only the consumers but also processors and traders. So if a law is formulated with this background, I think the APMCs will have to compete with the new trading environment outside the APMC jurisdiction. So I do see an opportunity for FPOs to participate in this alternative channel, but I think we'll have to wait for the draft of the new law.
And so given that on these alternate platforms, ENAM and other platforms, such low turnovers, gross turnovers, so even if it were to happen, how does it change the situation? And what FPOs could do to drive some of these alternate channel price discovery and trade? Yeah, Pravesh also wants to join in. So first you and then Pravesh could.
No, Pravesh, please go ahead.
After you, sir, I'll add to what you said. I just thought
No, please. You know it.
I always compare these alternate markets like futures, forwards, etc., to the different stories of a building. And I've always held the view that you can't start, constructing a building from the third floor downwards. You'll have to construct it from the ground floor. In all countries which have robust futures markets and forward markets, their primary markets function in a very efficient manner. It's the basis for developing the alternate market channels, especially futures and forwards. Without a reasonably efficient spot market, it's unrealistic to expect efficient forwards and futures markets. And it's no surprise that in our country, the futures markets have not developed because we somehow believe that we can create a bypass. No, your main artery will first have to supply the bulk of the blood to the heart. It's like that. You will first have to create a well-functioning spot market system. And from that, yes, will emerge the futures, forwards, and other derivative markets. You cannot, change the sequence just because you don't have the political or administrative will or the patience to reform your spot markets. Now, a beginning is being made to reform spot markets. Let's invest, good 4 or 5 years in building a very efficient, transparent, pro-producer, and also pro-consumer, balancing the interests of all the players in the supply chain. Let's build that spot market system. Then automatically you will see progress on the futures and forwards. That's please. We must hear other views also.
Yeah.
Just a small point. I couldn't agree more to what Pravesh ji has just said. Without building a primary market, the future market itself is just a kind of a myth for the farmers. And you want to check that, you just see that today's future market is 99.99% is used by the traders, not by the farmers. I think, Pravesh ji would agree with me.
Yes. Any other thoughts on the panel, Yogesh?
In fact, we tried in Madhya Pradesh to last year with soya and others. But as sir said, actually, the preparation and at FPO level, it is still, we are not reached at that level actually to get, to able to, use the benefit of such, superlative markets. So अभी challenge है हमारे लिए और जो बात हो रहा है कि पहले हमें अपना ground और हमारा foundation मजबूत करना होगा. Then only we will able to get the benefit. Although we are trying actually like federation level पे हमारे कई कुछ FPOs we are moving towards that, but still अभी तो दिल्ली दूर है हमारे लिए, so that is true. अभी उसमें समय लगेगा, still it will take time. So अभी बात जो हो रहा है कि अभी opportunities, but yes, but we agreed कि जो बात हो रहा है कि basket of जो है choices जो है वो जरूर मिलना चाहिए और उसके साथ में वो system हो जिसमें कि हम अपने आप को प्रोटेक्ट भी कर सके, मतलब हमारा इंटरेस्ट जो है वो प्रोटेक्ट रहे फार्मर्स के, क्योंकि अभी हम लोगों ने किया था जो प्रोसेस है इट इज वेरी लेंथी है. सो जो नॉर्मल एपीओज या लोग हैं उसको लिए करना इज नॉट इजी.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anisha, thanks, Yogesh.
Yeah. There's one more question around, do you think MNCs and big market players should be given a target to buy from FPOs?
Ashish, you made that point. Would you like to elaborate? And then I'd like Pravesh.
Question, please. Sorry, Anisha, can you please repeat?
Yeah. Do you think MNC?
Anisha, आशीष भाई आपने जो बोला था, इनफैक्ट दैट वाज आवर डिमांड की जो भी प्रोसेसर्स है, इनफैक्ट हमारा अभी भारत सरकार ने कुछ इस तरह का कुछ एक आध पॉइंट जरूर उन्होंने लाया है कि इफ एनी बिजनेस एंटिटी इफ दे आर गेटिंग एनी गवर्नमेंट सब्सिडीज, सो उनके लिए अगर है कि आपको एफपीओ या फार्मर से डायरेक्ट सोर्सिंग जो है वो आपको लेना होगा, लेकिन अभी शायद उसको मैंडेटरी लेवल पे नहीं डाला है उन्होंने. पर आपने जो पॉइंट आशीष भाई ने जो उठाया था कि जब तक ये मैंडेटरी नहीं किया जाएगा तब तक हमें जो है टीवी में फोटो दिखाया जाएगा कि हम फार्मर से खेतों से और हमारा जो है ये सॉस बन रहा है और ये गेहूं हमारे किसानों के खेतों से करके और किसान ला के दे रहा है, और रियल में वो कई लेयर पे गूंज के उस किसान को उसका 20% भी 30% प्राइस नहीं मिल पाता है. सो ये मैंडेटरी होना चाहिए. आशीष भाई ने बोला है, मैं इसको रीइंफोर्स कर रहा हूँ कि ये कम से कम अगर हमें अपने वास्तव में किसानों को अगर सही प्राइस दिलाना है तो कुछ ना कुछ मैंडेटरी होगा. शुरुआती दौर में 5 साल के लिए करें, 10 साल के लिए करें, बट वो जो रिजर्वेशन है वो हेल्प करेगा हमारे फार्मर्स को बेटर प्राइस इंश्योरमेंट, और इंडस्ट्री को भी फोर्स करेगा कि वो किसानों तक जाए. जो अभी हम उनके पास जाते हैं 50 किलोमीटर 100 किलोमीटर दूर जाके, फिर हमारी गाड़ियां रिजेक्ट हो जाती है, हम वापस चले आते हैं 10,000 रुपए नुकसान करके पर ट्राली में. तो ये मैंडेटरी होगा तो शायद वो जो सिस्टम ऐसा बने जो दोनों के लिए विन टू विन हो, इंडस्ट्री और फार्मर्स दोनों के लिए. तो ये जो कोटा जो बात कर रहे हैं, जो हमारे साथी जिन्होंने क्वेश्चन उठाया, बहुत जिनाइन है और हम इसको सपोर्ट करते हैं.
थोड़ा अदर साइड से भी सुनते हैं. Pravesh, you'd like to come in? Yeah.
Yeah, so as much as I normally say that everybody should be allowed to, have their views, this is one view which I really oppose. और मैं आपको अपना कारण बताता हूँ कि मैं क्यों इसके खिलाफ हूँ. जहां आपने कोई इस तरह का लक्ष्य बना दिया, आप उसका मिसयूज देखें. I'm asking Yogesh or even Ashish, why are we being so unambitious? हम महत्वाकांक्षा अपनी इतनी छोटी लेकर क्यों चल रहे हैं? Why are we not talking about assisting FPOs to be part of the entire value chain? Many people on the comments and the questions section are referring to the Amul model. What is the Amul model? That the primary producer is getting a share of the final consumer price. Yes, milk is a standardized commodity. It's easier to deal with it. But the principle is the same for all agri-commodities. अभी योगेश बहुत शायद मॉडेस्ट है. अभी पिछले हफ्ते योगेश ने कुछ गेहूं को साफ करा के रिटेल लेवल पर कंज्यूमर्स को गेहूं आटा बना के नहीं, इवन जस्ट साफ करके गेहूं भोपाल में बेचा है. आई एम सेइंग दैट इज द बिगिनिंग ऑफ एंट्री इनटू द वैल्यू चेन. In the context of post-COVID, as Bhavna was rightly saying, we need to think, and somebody also said, okay, now let's also support this call which the Prime Minister has given, vocal about local. I'm saying, what can be more appropriate to implement as part of the vocal about local than local agri value chains? Why is wheat traveling to long distances to clusters of roller floor mills, and then the packages of atta traveling all the way back at huge cost to the economy, carbon footprint? अगर हमें आटा ही एक लोकल इकोसिस्टम में देना है, आटा को बनाना बहुत हाई टेक्नोलॉजी नहीं है. ठीक है, दाल का मिलिंग, उसका देखरेख, ब्रांडिंग, मार्केटिंग, आई एग्री दीज आर challenges. But I am saying, if at all I am in favor of any subsidy being given or a target being put, I am in favor of that being provided to FPOs to help build value chains. Richa was mentioning FPOs are not thinking about branding. That's because somehow we are all convinced FPOs somehow अपना primary produce किसी corporate को दे दे और बस उनको एक price मिल जाए. And then the challenges which Yogesh is talking about, the artificial discounts, the cuts, the lack of transparency in fixing a price, in determining quality, all these challenges will remain. There is really no legal solution to these problems. The solution is create FPOs, and I'm not saying individual FPOs can do it, but a cluster like the Madhya Bharat cluster, which has more than 100 FPOs. 1.5 lakh farmers are members of the Madhya Bharat Federation of FPOs. That's a huge number. If they select only 2 or 3 commodities, I know they can't deal with half a dozen or 10 commodities. Suppose they decide we will focus only on wheat and wheat products and some select pulses, and let's help them make the value chain. I think that's a more realistic goal than fixing targets for processors, MNCs. We'll just see how people will run circles around those targets and miss you. But that's my personal view. I'd like to hear others also.
So we are in the last 10 minutes. So we are closing on what you would say injury time. So because we lost Siraj Sahab you early on. So now you have heard the questions from participants, the panelists. If you were to say what all government could do, 2-3 things government could do, and in light of whatever announcements, लक्ष्यकारी भी announcement हो, उसमें भी कैसे FPOs को इस मुहिम से जुड़ा सकता है? Many useful suggestions have come, Ashish has said. So if you were to give recommendation to the government, what would they be like?
I think I'm not quite equipped in the presence of Pravesh to speak on this, but I think we should not expect that the government is going to abolish the APMCs. The APMCs are going to stay, and I think the government must be considering something which will have to compete with the existing APMCs. So since some people have raised questions on this point, I thought I should tell you what I expect from the government to happen over the next month or so, when a new draft should be out in public domain. As far as FPOs are concerned, I know that it is not easy for them to compete with the established players, and without any grant for creating infrastructure, it is not easy. I also realize that the experience of cooperatives in Maharashtra and UP both shows that a lot of politically active people get into the act and they take the advantage of various policies. So, for example, the cooperatives, in many cases, almost in all cases in UP and in many cases in Maharashtra, do not really reflect the opinion of all the members. One can say that they are dominated by a few important people. So one fear, there is a fear in the government that FPOs may also go the same way. So something has to happen on that front. But I think the NABARD has been talking of such a large number of FPOs. How many of them are actually assisted, etc., I do not know. So, Richa, Govil, we do look forward to your papers and your research on the subject. Please share it whenever you come up with more.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. So we are now in the last minute of our last 2-3 minutes of our conversation today. And I promise that we'll share the poll results that we had done right in the beginning. But I have another poll for you. Shivam, can you put it up? So Anisha and can we request you if you have some announcements to make on behalf of NAFPO?
Sure,
Shivam is doing,
quick announcement on NAFPO's initiative in developing ecosystem support for FPOs. To address challenges of governance, NAFPO intends to empanel independent directors and human resource for FPOs. An online HR marketplace will be created for ease in providing professional management support to FPOs. A database of 5,600 SPCs has been consolidated across the country, and we engage with them on a regular basis through our newsletter service. NAFPO, in partnership with IFHD, is developing a product for acceleration and incubation of FPOs for an all-round support for ensuring sustainability. Lastly, to cover end-to-end risk management for FPOs and to connect them with modern markets, NAFPO has partnered with Credible India. I will request all participants to suggest how NAFPO can be useful in supporting FPOs. You can write to me at anisha@nafpo.in. Thank you, Anish.
Thanks, Anisha. So I'll urge all the participants on this call and wherever they are listening to us on Facebook to send in your suggestions so that we can become more relevant to the FPO community. So Shivam, can we have your polls? So that's there you go, and that's how we started with the package. Thanks, Shivam. So thank you very much, the participants, our panelists, experts. We are going to take the insights, action steps that we have outlined from today's discussions to the relevant nodes, both in government and in other places. And I'm sure with the support of all of you, together we will be able to create a space for FPOs because it is now in currency, people are talking about it. It's a sign that we use the opportunity of COVID to drive in the critical space that FPOs can play in rural economy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.